My name is Susan Lilly, and I'm a nutrition outreach instructor in Raleigh County, and I work for WVU Extension Service with the Family Nutrition Program. And today we are going to be making energy bars. And these bars are a good source of energy to get you through the day. They're a little bit sweet, they taste good. The honey that we're going to be using in the recipe is what gives them their sweetness, and the dried fruit that we'll be using. But with this recipe, what you will need, we will need rice cereal, we will need quick cooking oats, you will need dried fruit, and you can use a variety of different types of dried fruit like dried cranberries or raisins. You will need unsweetened coconut, you will need honey, we're going to be using honey, we're going to have low-fat peanut butter, and a little bit of vanilla. Now, a few things that I had to do ahead of time for this recipe is with the nuts, they are lightly toasted nuts. So you can put them in the oven on a sheet pan and cook them for a few minutes just to kind of get them warm through. It brings out a really good flavor in them. Or if you are not allowed to use the oven, you can put them on a plate in the microwave for a few minutes and let them get warm through. It kind of brings out that toasty flavor also. What I will need for this recipe, I will need a bowl, and I will need a spatula, and I'm going to need measuring cups. I'm using a 1/2 cup and a 1/4 of a cup today, and I'm using a teaspoon and a tablespoon, and I am using another measuring cup. I pre-measured out a lot of these different ingredients before we got started. But the first thing we need to do is to make sure we wash our hands. So we're going to come over here to the sink. I'm going to wash my hands. Now it is important that when you're washing your hands that we wash our hands with warm water and soap for at least 20 seconds. And we want to make sure we're getting all over our hands, not just the palm of our hands. We want to get in between our fingers and down around our fingernails and the tops and the bottoms. We're going to wash them really good with soap and warm water. And then we're going to dry them off and we'll be good to go. Okay. Now, the first thing that I'm going to pour in, and what I have done is, again, I've pre-measured a lot of these ingredients. So I have 3/4 of a cup of rice cereal. I just used the generic brand at the store. I have quick cook oats, which there's 3/4 of a cup of the quick cook oats. I have coconut, and with the coconut we're going to need 2 tablespoons. So I have my tablespoon. We're going to measure out those 2 tablespoons of unsweetened coconut. And then it calls for 3/4 of a cup of dried fruit. And I am using dried cranberries in there today. And I have my toasted nuts that were pre-done. So it calls for it calls for a 1/2 cup. I have my 1/2 cup right here. And I mix several different nuts together. I have almond slivers, I have pecans, and I have walnuts mixed together. I really like my energy bars to have a lot of nuts in them. Now, already in this bowl, we have 3 different food groups going on. We have our grains, which are giving us lots of carbohydrates for energy. We have the dried fruit, which is going to be giving us vitamins that our bodies need. And we have the mixture of nuts, which is a good source of protein that we're getting from that. So we've put in our nuts, we've put in our dried fruit, our oats and our cereal, and our coconut. So now what we're going to do, and I pre-measured out it calls for a 1/4 of a cup of honey. And again, I bought this honey from a local vendor here in Raleigh County. And we are going to take the 1/2 cup of peanut butter, and I'm just going to squeeze it right down in there and get that off of there. And peanut butter is a good source of protein also, and we're using low-fat peanut butter. And then the honey is a natural sweetener. that we're going to be using. So we're going to put this in the microwave for about 30 seconds to get it, to break it down a little bit so that we can stir it together and mix it in with our energy bar mixture. So we're going to let that cook for 30 seconds. I'm going to clean up my mess here a little bit I got going on. While that's cooking, I'm going to go ahead and mix this together. I'm going to stir all this together, get it good and mixed up and all spread out in there. And if your berries stick together, if your cranberries stick together, your raisins, or whatever type of dried fruit you're using, that helps break them apart a little bit. Sometimes they can stick together when you get them out of the bag. So I'm going to pull out my peanut butter mixture. Shut that door. And I am going to stir this mixture together, kind of break it down a little bit, if you can see. So it heated that honey up, and it's broke down that peanut butter a little bit, makes it a little bit easier to get it into a mixture. Mix it together. I can smell that honey. Yeah, honey smells really good. Okay. Act like you're whipping some eggs. Alright, so now it's kind of very fluid now. It's not as thick as it was with just the peanut butter. Alright, so what I have already done is I have a 9 by 13 pan, and I'm going to line it with parchment paper. Couldn't think what it was. So I'm going to line that and try to press it down in there a little bit. We're going to be putting this down in there and forming it down in there in just a minute. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pour my peanut butter and honey mixture in with my energy bar other ingredients. Let's see here. Grab a mess. And this recipe will be on the website. You'll be able to pull this recipe off so that you can print it out and look at it and save it, because this is a really good recipe and it tastes really good. And you can kind of be creative on the types of things you use in it. You could use dried apples in it. You could use another type of nut butter besides peanut butter, or even mix the peanut butter with another nut butter. Like my favorite is you could use almond butter, or you could use a hazelnut butter. Okay, so I'm mixing that all in, and if it's mixed in good, then there shouldn't be a lot of loose oats and rice cereal. It should kind of be binding together, sticking together really good. And I'm using this spatula so I don't get my hands burnt in case the honey and the peanut butter are still warm. You want to be careful about that. Ooh, I think I've got it pretty good stuck together. So I'm going to pour it in my pan. Oh yeah. Pour it in my pan. I'm going to get all of it, so I'm going to scrape it off with my scraper. So it's sticking because of the peanut butter and the honey. Okay. Might save those for later. I'm going to set that out of the way. Whoops. And now I'm going to spread this down into the pan. Now the reason that we're using the parchment paper is to help pull it out later, because what we're going to do with this here in just a minute, after we get it nice and spread out in the pan, you want to get it in one layer, and we should be able, when this is finished, to cut this up into 16 servings or 16 bars so that we can share it with the rest of the family. So I'm pushing it down. Got it pretty all one layer. Now, it didn't cover all of the pan. I don't know if it's because it's it didn't cover the whole pan. So I'm going to show you what it looks like. This is what it looks like down in the pan. So then what I'm going to do is I am going to cover this, and I'm going to put it in the refrigerator for about 3 or 4 hours for it to harden up and get more solid so that we can use it that way. And I have one that I've already done that's finished that you can see how it turned out. And when I was able, I've started cutting on it. We sampled. So what we've done is I'm just going to be able to cut me a bar here. And voila, I have a little energy bar. And you should be able to cut it into 16 servings and have a great snack that you can share. It's going to give you lots of energy. It'll last throughout the day, and it's low in sugar. We controlled the type of sugar and how much sugar we put into it, so it makes it a healthier snack. So I hope you enjoy making this recipe. We'll see you later.